Welcome everyone to Health Coach TV. If you have PCOS, polycystic ovaries, you are going to want to tune in here. I am here with the amazing Dr. Ana Fernández-Braso. Welcome.
Hi, Dr. Shauna. So good to be here.
We are really going to have a great discussion today. I know it. You have a wealth of knowledge personally and professionally. Let me introduce you and then let's dive right into it. So Dr. Ana Fernández-Braso is a medical doctor specializing in preventive medicine and public health. She's a certified yoga and meditation teacher and also a certified holistic health coach. She helps women with PCOS regulate their cycles and manage their symptoms naturally. After working as a medical doctor in preventive medicine and having suffered from PCOS symptoms for years, you're going to hear about that, she healed PCOS naturally herself. And she was able to overcome it, and she now coaches other women so they can overcome PCOS with holistic nutrition and lifestyle approach. And she believes that reversing PCOS is possible. That's good to know if you're out there. And she loves empowering women to do the same. Dr. Ana lives in beautiful Madrid, Spain, coming all the way from Spain, but she supports women globally, both in Spanish and in English. So welcome, Dr. Ana.
Thank you, Dr. Shauna. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, this is great. So tell us exactly, so in a nutshell, what would you say, what is it that you do with women now?
Well, I help women with PCOS balance their hormones naturally so they can lose weight, clear their acne, regulate their cycles, and feel confident in their own skin.
Awesome. So if people are tuning into this and with the title that it gets put on this video and audio, probably they might know about what PCOS is, but it's possible they just stumbled upon this video. And quite frankly, a lot of women with PCOS don't even know they have it. So this might be helpful too. So for our audience who might not know, what is PCOS?
So PCOS is also polycystic ovary syndrome, and it's a hormonal metabolic disorder that affects around 10-20% of women worldwide, and it affects the ovaries. So the ovaries produce excess androgens, and this gives you certain symptoms, like, for example, irregular periods or missing periods because you can't ovulate, acne, excess body weight, excess hair growth, facial or body hair, which is called hirsutism, and also alopecia and fertility challenges. And, you know, it's in the whole PCOS cause, insulin resistance plays a huge role, and also low-grade chronic inflammation. But, you know, it's multifactorial. There's a genetic part, lifestyle, insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, and, well, that's what it is in a nutshell.
Yeah, thank you. That is really helpful for people. And some women listening might have some of those symptoms and they're like, is that what's happening with me? So that might be helpful just right there. Tune in. We're going to get the good stuff on what can you do about this. So tell us a little bit about your story. How did you get into this line of work where you're helping women with PCOS?
Well, after being diagnosed with PCOS and 10 years of taking the pill later, you know, I was really tired with all the side effects I was having. And I started to worry also about the possible complications derived from PCOS. And I worried about my future fertility. So I decided, you know, it was time to maybe go off the pill. And I asked my doctor at the time for advice, and she had, you know, suggested eat healthy and exercise, you know, so it wasn't, you know, too helpful for me at the time. And, well, that's when I realized I had to take charge of my own health. And so I was, you know, dieting, exercising. I still wasn't getting my period, and my acne was actually worse, and my mood was a complete roller coaster. So that's when I realized I had to get to the root cause of my own PCOS. And my greatest discovery was learning to be in tune with my menstrual cycle. It wasn't until I started to work with my cycle and not against it that everything started to shift and the healing actually began. You know, it wasn't only about the food or the supplements I was taking. It was about taking a holistic approach to my health, you know, taking in mind my body, my spirit, my mind. And yeah, so after struggling with PCOS for so many years, I finally started to ovulate. I regulated my cycle. The acne cleared up. And all the symptoms basically were gone, and I felt emotionally like myself again. So that's what led me to the work that I do now, which is help other women with PCOS balance their hormones naturally.
Thank you for that. And I think a lot of women don't even think that this is possible. So I think just hearing your story is giving people hope. Let's dive into it a little bit more. Let's unpack it a little bit further. Tell us a little bit more about what it was like. Like, what kind of symptoms and side effects did you have from the pill that had you go, okay, well, just popping this pill on here isn't going to help me, and it's not enough. Like, if that was, you know, if it cured it, great, but it's not what it is. So tell us a little bit about that, and, you know, just going from, now your doctor wasn't wrong. Eat healthy, exercise is not bad, not wrong advice. It's just like, obviously that was something that you knew already.
Yeah.
But kind of generic, and that. So just tell us about that journey, because you were kind of doing the right things, sort of thing. So tell us, just kind of walk us back through the story, in just a little bit more detail, just to kind of give people a little bit more an idea about some of the things that weren't working and that were working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like I said before, I had been taking the pill for 10 years. You know, I was diagnosed with PCOS at age 16 and had been taking the pill since. And I was really, really tired of all the side effects I was experiencing from taking hormonal birth control. You know, I felt emotionally numb. I had excess weight, skin rashes all the time, fluid retention, vaginal dryness. You know, I felt like a balloon. I wasn't overweight exactly, but I felt like puffed up. And, you know, I felt it was time to find another way to manage all the PCOS symptoms, and also prevent the possible health risks that can derive from PCOS. So I was 26 when I went off the pill, and I felt completely lost, because all that my doctor recommended was, you know, just try to not gain weight, exercise a lot, and see if you get your period back. And if you don't, just go back on the pill, and we'll worry about your fertility when the time comes. So I felt completely misunderstood and hopeless.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when I realized I was alone in this. You know, if I wanted to manage my PCOS symptoms without hormonal birth control, I had to take charge of my own health and do it on my own. So I started studying how to manage PCOS naturally. And despite my medical background, I struggled with a lot of conflicting information, many nutrition theories and mainstream trends and fads, you know. So my journey of self-experimentation began. I tried different diets. I cut down my carb intake. I cut down sugar. I avoided dairy, gluten. What else did I avoid? Many, many different things. I took a lot of supplements, and I pushed myself exercising a lot, you know, and I still wasn't getting any results. So
I'm gonna just interrupt you there. Doing
yeah.
all those things, like extreme, and that's what a lot of people are being told to do. And I'm not saying it's not right, but you did all those things, and it's still, that wasn't it. So, because I
Yeah,
just
for
want to say,
me,
somebody tunes out, and that's not what you're saying to do, because they might be saying, well, I tried that and it didn't work, and you're saying, yeah, I tried that too and it didn't work. Okay, keep going. I just wanted to clarify, you did all that and it still didn't work.
yeah.
Frustrating.
So
Okay.
it was really frustrating because I was, you know, doing all of these things and I wasn't ovulating. I wasn't getting my period. My mood was a complete roller coaster. The acne was back, and the excess hair growth was worse. So, you know, I felt hopeless. and overwhelmed and frustrated because I was spending so much time, money, and energy to do everything right, and still wasn't where I wanted to be with my hormonal health, you know? So it took me almost 4 years of trial and error to figure out that I was putting a lot of pressure and stress on my body with all these dietary restrictions and by trying to do everything perfect. And I wasn't giving, the chance to truly heal. I was, fighting against my body all the time. And so it wasn't only about the food. It wasn't only about the supplements, it was about the whole holistic mind, body, spirit approach that really, that was the key, and I had to learn to listen to my body's needs. So the key thing that I learned was that I needed to get to the root cause of my own PCOS. My greatest discovery actually was learning to be in tune with my menstrual cycle and let go of all the resistance and finally embrace my cyclical nature. And that's when everything started to shift and the healing, began. I was working with my cycle and not against it, So after all those years of struggling with PCOS symptoms, I finally regulated my cycle. I am now ovulating every month. I have pain-free periods. The acne and the bloating are gone. I can maintain a healthy and lean weight. The unwanted hair growth has improved. I feel emotionally like myself again, and I have reversed all my PCOS symptoms without having to take hormonal medication or any other type of medication to control my acne or weight gain. So, yeah.
That is so fantastic, refreshing, and I can understand. I think a lot of people think you can't do anything about it, and you can understand how people would come to that conclusion, trying all those things and nothing working. One might think that nothing can be done. So I'm so glad that you kind of continued on and showed that no, you can get on the other side of it. You can reverse this. And it makes sense. I think if people just check in, it makes sense. Like to go in. I've often said, your body is a miracle. It can heal itself if we give it half a chance. And so kind of tuning in rather looking at all these external sort of diets and things out there, it's more to it than that, and it's sort of more simple than that too.
Yes.
Sometimes to get to that simplicity is a challenge, and it's a journey of discovery, and there's some things to learn along the way to that. And I think really that is the real value of health coaching, why both of us are traditionally trained medical doctors, but both then went to become a health coach, because we kind of, you could see, I think the real value of being a doctor, we were talking about this earlier, Anna, is one of the values of being a medical doctor is you get to see the long-term sequelae of people's lifestyle habits on a daily basis. So little by little, you've got this little problem, you got diabetes, you got a blood sugar, that's going up, you got high blood pressure. In the moment, people, it's not that big of a deal. But when we see patients, you have an opportunity to see 20, 30, 40 years plus down the road, and then what happens. And so that inspired within me, and I know I was talking to you, and that inspired within you. Let's see if we can get out ahead of it. Like, what if we didn't have to wait until like the last possible minute when things are like way out of control? What if we can correct it and reverse things and get there earlier? So much easier, so much simpler to not have that condition. And that's really the true value of health coaches and health coaching, I think. And and you proved it kind of to yourself as well. So is that why you decided to become a health coach, to, with your journey? Is that what the story was for you?
Yeah, actually it was. And, it was so liberating to, after 10 years of taking medication and seeing that I didn't need it to be okay, to balance my hormones. I didn't need it anymore. So it was incredible. And I needed to share all this knowledge with the world. I never believed this was possible. I had been hearing my doctors since I was 16 years old telling me that this is a chronic condition. You will have difficulties ovulating, and of course, your fertility will be compromised. I believed it. I had been hearing it since I was a teenager. And, of course, PCOS is a chronic condition, but with the right lifestyle, you can keep your symptoms under control and even completely reverse them. So, you won't even remember you have PCOS. And after, all the studying I did on hormone health, all the healing and the personal growth, that I've experienced all these years, I feel so free, so alive, that this is why I help women take this path instead of believing that they are stuck with their symptoms forever. It wasn't easy to do it on my own, but I wished I had someone like me to guide me through this process when I started.
Yeah, because it took you a lot, cost you a lot. And I know that women out there who are in that same boat and just kind of like searching and looking for answers. So how is it that you work with these women, with your clients? What do they come to you with? How do you help them? Kind of just give us a little insight into what that looks like.
Yeah, so most of my clients are women with PCOS between the ages of 25 and 35. They're very tired of having irregular or missing periods, difficulties losing weight, excess facial or body hair growth, constant acne, or fertility issues, and are looking to reverse all these symptoms naturally without having to take hormonal birth control. And finally start having regular cycles naturally. So what I do is I walk them step by step through a process from all these annoying symptoms that I'm talking about to finally ovulating, finally regulating your cycle, clearing up your acne, losing weight, having more energy, and feeling not like a mood roller coaster all the time. So, I work very closely with them, primarily virtually. So it's easy, for everyone anywhere. So, I actually coach them in English and Spanish, like you mentioned, I'm from Madrid. So there's plenty of accountability, support, but there's, also they know exactly what to do to get on the other side of this. And the most important thing is that we get results.
Yeah, fantastic. What would you, whenever I have these, and I think results is the most, important thing. Whenever I have experts in their field and sort of, you have definitely professional credentials, which is fantastic, but more importantly, personal credentials as well. What I've always found is, it's one thing to kind of look and see what is out there, but then what actually works. Because if what you were getting actually worked, in that traditional sense, really, we're doctors, the doctor can't eat for someone else or think for someone else or drink for someone else or exercise. Nobody can do your push-ups for you, kind of thing. So it's really up to the person themselves to do it anyways, but just having that guidance and knowing what can you do and what shouldn't you do. And so as you've gone through this journey, like, you really become the expert in this. And so when I have the experts on in their particular area of expertise, I always like to say, now you have a different vantage point, coming from that solution side. And so I like to have you like myth bust and pop some balloons and say, what, this long held belief is a myth, and so that it can help. So what would you say is one of the biggest myths when it comes to women and looking at their PCOS and trying to reverse their symptoms and some of those things? What would you say are some of the biggest myths or misconceptions or misunderstandings that people have?
Well, probably that hormonal birth control regulates your menstrual cycle and that it's the only thing you can do for PCOS. Because of course, sometimes it's medically recommended to take hormonal birth control. I'm not going to argue that, but women need to know in case it is just, another option out there, so that they can take informed decisions with their doctor. And because hormonal birth control, actually, it suppresses your hormones. It doesn't regulate your hormones. What it does, it shuts off your ovaries, and all your natural hormone production, it's completely turned off. So that is why, most PCOS symptoms disappear while you're on hormonal birth control. But when you decide to stop taking it, the symptoms come back like they were before, and in some cases even worse. So it's like a Band-Aid, it doesn't actually solve the problem. It doesn't regulate your hormones, but when you take it off, it's still there. So
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest myths.
Yeah. So it's just shutting things down to get rid of the symptoms, but it didn't get rid of, the problem. So as soon as you take that Band-Aid off, it's a gusher still. And so, so we didn't really get anywhere. And just shutting things down to avoid the symptoms does have some side effects as well, does have some consequences as well. And if you need to, if it's, and some people would just rather do that. But I think a lot of women do that just because they don't know there's another option. As I'm listening to you and hearing sort of your philosophy and approach, so it's not really about restrictive diets, and it's not about cutting out gluten or dairy or things necessarily. It's not about like denying yourself all of these things. And it's more about, and rather than fighting your cycle, like trying to have it be something that it's not. What I hear you saying over and over again is about your personal philosophy is what really worked was working with your cycle, not against your cycle. Like, not fighting your body, but kind of working with your body as an ally, and not kind of like, and going to war with your body and shutting it down and going to battle, but kind of working with and kind of lovingly, working with your cycle, with your body, and then that you get such great results. Tell us a little bit more about, why it's important, or what you've seen in your philosophy about why it's important to work with your body, with your cycle.
Well, it's one of the key components of healing PCOS and many hormonal imbalances. In our society nowadays, it's a masculine designed society. Everything is linear, like men's hormonal system. It has a length of 24 hours. It's a 24-hour biological clock, called the circadian rhythm. And, everything every day should be sort of the same, equally productive, and women's cyclical nature tends to be ignored, in order to keep up with this life, right? So women, also have that 24-hour circadian rhythm. It controls our sleep-wake cycles. But in addition, we have an infradian rhythm, and it lasts longer. It's actually around a month, which is also known as the menstrual cycle. So, a healthy woman's menstrual cycle, it's between 21-35 days, and not every day of the cycle is the same. We actually go through 4 different phases in this menstrual cycle. The first one, menstruation, then the follicular phase, then ovulation, and finally the luteal phase, which is the premenstrual phase. So in these phases, we have different typical hormone fluctuations that give us different emotional and physical symptoms. Our energy levels fluctuate, our sleep pattern, our digestion, everything changes, throughout that cycle. And this is why, keeping up with our predominantly masculine society is not natural for us. But understanding your cycle and learning what works for you in each phase, it's what makes you thrive in this linear society that we live in, because you will start to understand what you need at each time of your menstrual cycle, and you won't expect to be the same every day. You're not pressuring yourself to be the same every day and pushing yourself, because you understand that it's okay to not be the same every day. And so you learn to take care of yourself so much better. You learn to honor your boundaries and learn, basically, you're in tune with your body's needs, And when it comes to healing PCOS, this is critical. This is how we find balance. And how women actually start to reverse all their symptoms and get on the other side of this, because when you connect with your menstrual cycle, you learn to exercise, you learn to eat, you learn to do everything according to your menstrual cycle. And this brings you back to your natural balance. You're not ignoring your cycle, you're not fighting against it. You're not trying to do anything different, just, accepting your reality. And this gives you so much potential to live, empowered in this society we live in. So yeah, basically remember that you can break free from PCOS symptoms by working with your cycle and not against it.
This is so good. And I don't know that I've really heard others talk about it like this before, from this, zoomed out, getting right to the root. So it's not specifically about eat this particular thing or don't eat this particular thing or do this or, and you can just tell. I mean, those of you watching can tell. Can't you tell? Of course, this makes sense that this would work. And then knowing what that is, I mean, it's about having this really relationship with your own body. And I was just, as you were saying, you talked about circadian rhythm, which we all know about, and then this infradian rhythm, which probably most people don't think about too much, about a monthly type of a rhythm like that. But if you think about it, once you understand that, it makes sense. So for example, if we didn't know about a circadian rhythm, we would be confused as to why at night we were tired. And why, and if we try to, and people do, when we try to go against it, and when you're doing shift work, for example, and you're up all night, then there's a logical explanation why you're tired the next day and you get out of balance. But when you're sleeping at night, when it's dark out, and awake during the day and productive when it's bright out, things work much better and easier. So similarly, as you talk about those 4 phases of the cycle, when you know that and you can work with it, then you're not trying to be up all night and sleep all day and then wonder why things are all like out of whack. And because we are kind of like, you get really in tune with things and things are working with you. So it's like, yeah, it's, as you're saying it, and especially when you compared it to the circadian rhythm, and it makes sense. It makes sense. And but yet I think you're right. As women, it's like every day is exactly the same, and we can't figure out why some days are different than others, and that we're not supposed to have different, be different, feel different, have different things at different times of the month. And yet we totally get why we would do different things, be different at different times of the day. Right. And exactly. So it's so I think as people are listening, they're like, that makes way more sense than don't eat this evil food. So, all right. So this is great. So people are listening. That all sounds fine. What are a couple of tips that you can share with our viewers? They're listening in and like, this is all great, but I still have all these symptoms. It's really hard when I don't have energy, my hair's falling out, or it's growing in places I don't want it to grow, and my weight's getting more, and I'm a mess. What are some things, some tips that you could share with them that they could start to implement right away? Like something that they could just start to consider that helps them get back to working with the flow?
Well, the most important thing is to go back to basics. Don't add more stress to yourself by trying to add more dietary restrictions or by over or under exercising, in order to balance your hormones, because this could be making things even worse, so you don't have to cut all your carbs, you don't have to cut gluten, you don't have to cut dairy or any entire food group just because you have PCOS, so just focus on finding balance in your life. That's the key. For example, eat balanced and nourishing meals, whole foods. That's the key. And whole foods that feel good to you. And I always say, balance your plate to balance your hormones. It's a very easy thing that you can start implementing today. So it's 50% of the plate would be vegetables. A quarter of the plate would be healthy carbs. Another quarter would be protein and some healthy fats, like, for example, some olive oil or avocado, something like that. And try to reduce, your sugar intake, the inflammatory oils, and the processed foods as much as possible, of course. Another tip is including protein and healthy fats always at breakfast, because this will help keep your blood sugar stable throughout the day and set your day for success. And exercising, exercise regularly. Walking every day is great. And also doing strength training, because it reduces insulin resistance and inflammation. So it's really good for women with PCOS. Another one would be reducing toxic environmental chemicals. For example, avoid plastic water bottles, plastic containers. Read the labels in your skincare, in your cleaning products, to avoid hormone disruptors and estrogen mimickers. Also, getting good quality sleep is crucial. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and avoid watching screens 2 hours before going to bed. And manage your stress. Like I said, you can have physical stress from all the restriction, from the exercising. So this is very important, and also emotional stress. So it can come from both ends, and be very, very mindful of that. And most of all, embrace your cyclical nature and learn about your menstrual cycle.
Yeah, they're fantastic. So those are really good. Kind of some easy to do, easy not to do things, but easy to implement. So now that people know, hey, that actually makes a difference. It's easy to do. I'm going to start to take those baby steps and not stress out about it. And I think the thing that you're stressing is not stressing, you're emphasizing is how, you really want to minimize the stress in there, and the restrictions and all of that. Just kind of really a less masculine approach to things, hammer and nail, and much more feminine, gentle, loving approach to life and flow and ease. So kind of makes all sense. Before we wrap up here, one of the things that I know for sure is once people start to implement these really great healthy lifestyle changes, that it doesn't just help the PCOS. There's always like a spinoff and a ripple effect. What are some like ripple effects or bonus benefits, unintended great consequences that you've seen with some of the people that you've worked with?
Yeah, so, beyond reversing PCOS symptoms and healing your menstrual cycle and all your menstrual problems, with these holistic lifestyle shifts, some of the spin-off benefits, well, for example, one client told me that they feel more connected to themselves, like never before. They feel very confident, empowered to take charge not only of their health, but of their whole life. And the understanding they have of the menstrual cycle gives them the tools to learn how to live cyclically and give themselves grace through the process. And for example, one woman I worked with, both her and her boyfriend started to eat better, and she said her relationship improved, and she was looking at life more relaxed. she learned that it was okay to have stress in her life, but she learned to move through it and not fight it. You know, she said now she has made friends with her stress. And I love that. I love that. And one woman,
Yeah, we all will have stress, so it does
yeah,
happen. So it's not like, oh, now you don't have anything to stress about. So that's really important. And I was just thinking, of course, if you're eating a certain way, and probably the people around you, without even you trying or saying anything, they're starting to get healthier as well. And if you're eating healthier and your mood's better and their mood's better, then that probably is going to mean better relationships and so on and so on. So sorry, I interrupted, but yeah, good point.
yeah. I was also remembering that another woman said that she was not, she loved that she wasn't dieting, and she could go out with her family and eat at restaurants in the weekends or whenever she had a family celebration, her social life improved and it was actually revived through this process. And yes, and another woman also, she got her energy back, and after all the hormonal balance came back, and she was, feeling very confident. She had more clarity, and she was actually able to leave a job that didn't align with the way she looked at life. And she found a new career path, which was really, really inspiring. And actually, I know of at least two women that were able to leave jobs that they didn't like. So that's another one. and and by reducing inflammation, also, they start to have more energy. So they have more energy to actually enjoy their life and do things. So this is something they usually say. They didn't realize how exhausted they were before,
Yeah.
and they get their life back.
It's funny, when I was health coaching, I had a couple of people as well shift careers. One was a grain farmer, and then he ended up recording a music CD back in the day with CDs, because that was really his passion. And another one was a city bus driver, and he ended up going to India, and he ended up becoming like a hypnotherapist and stuff. So just like once you kind of
Yeah.
unravel and you're feeling better, and then your journey, you're able to, you have the confidence to do what you like, you have the energy to do what you like. So and you can imagine, like the way you're saying, it's not like restricting things, so that you can go out, you'll have the energy to go out, you'll have the confidence to, you feel better, your hair's better, your skin's better, acne's gone, bloating's gone, you got your mood back, that you actually want to go out. And then you're not the person that's out there saying, no, I can't eat that, can't eat that. Nobody invites you to go along because you're just too difficult to be with. So I can imagine that it's a complete life transformation. And it's so amazing to have had this chat with you, Dr. Anna. The people who you connect with are super blessed. You have such amazing experience, both personally as a medical doctor, but also, professionally as a medical doctor, but personally, really, because you are on the front lines of this. You know what it's like to have to kind of figure out this whole PCOS things. And so, for real, not just theoretically, for real, what actually works and what actually hasn't worked, at least for you. And then, as you walk people through that process, they can get those results too, which is just fantastic. And as I say, the ripple effects are huge. I don't even know that you appreciate how many lives you're changing and the ripple effect of that. I mean, if you're improving women's fertility, for example, think of the number of lives, the relationships, and everything, the spin-off benefits. It's immense. And when people are doing work they love to do, having their relationships improved and repaired from that, it's just Very, very great. So thank you so much for the work that you do. If people want to, if they have a question, they might say, hey, this is all good, but you don't know what my situation is or something like that. If they, and again, as a reminder, you work with people in Spanish and English. You're in Spain, but you help people globally. I'm in Canada. I speak English. So I'm English speaking. So we're doing this interview in English, but you connect both ways. But if people want to find out more about you, or if they have a question, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, they can reach me on my website, drannafernandezbraso.com, or through Instagram, dr.anna.pcos. So both ways are good.
We'll put the link in the description, but a couple of things. Anna is spelled with one N, A-N-A. We'll start with that. So I'm going to spell those out just for people. So Dr. Anna, for her website, Dr. Anna Fernández-Braso. So DRANAFERNANDEZ braso.com. Sometimes we say ZZ depending on what country. So, and then Instagram is at dr.anna, A-N-A, .pcos, dr.ana.pcos for Instagram. Awesome. Thank you so very much for doing this interview. It was an absolute delight. You are a wealth of knowledge, a breath of fresh air, and keep shining your light and spreading all of this greatness with these ladies out there. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shauna. It's been great being here. Thank you.
My pleasure. Well, that's it for this episode of Health Coach TV. For more episodes, be sure to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, Dr. Shauna, DRSHAUNNA. I guess I should spell that. But also check out the descriptions, follow up with Dr. Anna. And if you have a particular health coach or a health issue, concern, and you would be interested in finding an expert to share some tips, pop that in the comments too. We're always looking to make sure that we are answering your questions and addressing your concerns. All right, with that, have a fantastic week, everybody, and most of all, be good for you.